It's noon 01 here in Ventnor City, New Jersey, and I'm guessing New York, New York? Is that the guess? And this is CarEdge Live for Monday, November 3rd, with your hosts, me, Ray, here in Ventnor, and Zach, well, in parts unknown. How are you today, handsome?
I'm doing okay, Pops. How are you doing this morning?
I am well.
That's good to hear. Glad to be here with you. Happy Monday, everyone. We're going to be reviewing, Pops, the fastest and slowest selling cars today. Let me get it pulled up on the screen. We've got the latest and greatest data for the month of November, where, Dad, we are seeing more and more of a buyer's market dynamic enter here in the U.S. car market. And the slowest selling and fastest selling cars will help us understand which vehicles you can get a good deal on, and maybe some of those deals, or some of those vehicles you can't get quite as good of a deal on. I'm going to pull the data up on the screen, but before I do, Pops,
yes,
you want to remind everyone how we think about fastest and slowest selling cars and why it's important.
Well, the way we think of fastest and slowest selling cars, not necessarily the same way everybody else might, is we think of it as day supply metric. In other words, how quickly are these vehicles being sold by the dealer? So it might not necessarily be by volume, but it's the speed in which it's being sold out of inventory. So that's how did I do?
You did great. All right, so let's take a peek at some of the slowest selling vehicles, Dad.
You are, just so you know, you are a little echoey in that office that you're in. Just, I don't know if there's a way to be able to mitigate that, but thought I'd share.
Okay. No, I don't have a way today, so it's going to be the situation. So thanks for the heads up. Yeah. All right. Well, here you go, folks. I guess I won't do the talking. I'll let Dad do it.
Oh, my God. No, you're the leader of the pack, but I'll do the best that I can. These are the slowest selling vehicles based on how quickly they're selling in comparison to their day supply. So when you look here, the number 10 slowest selling vehicle in the United States at the present time is the Mini two-door hardtop. There is 197-day supply, and there are a total of 2,747 of them for sale. And in the last 45 days, they've sold 628 of them. So you could see that it would take them 197 days at the current sales rate to sell the remaining 2,747 vehicles that their dealers have in inventory at the moment. Now, what you need to remember is dealers and manufacturers would like that day supply to be somewhere between 60 and 90. 75-day supply, a 75-day turn average is ideal. How did I do?
You did good. Keep going.
Well, wait, this way I'm going to do the whole damn show. What are you kidding?
I'm echoey, so, I'm just a sidekick today. Have some fun.
The Jeep Compass has 198-day supply. They have over 21,000 available for sale. They've sold a little over, I can't see that number. I think it's 4,800 in the last 45 days. So, and that has, the first two have relatively, and I know people get mad at me when I say this, but relatively low average transaction prices. The Mini at 37,000, the Compass at just under 32,000. And I understand people get mad at me when I say that because they think, well, the average transaction prices should be in the 20s. But relative to what pricing is today, these come in the neighborhood of $13,000 to $19,000 or $18,000 below what is the average transaction price today.
He's on a roll, folks.
Yes. Then we have at number 8, we have the Mercedes-Benz SL. As you can see, they don't have a lot of them. There's 539 in the country, but they've only sold 122 in the last 45 days. So that gives them a 199-day supply. And maybe, just maybe, but I seriously doubt it, the price of $163,000 is what's slowing down the sale of those vehicles. But my guess is, it's just a guess, that the people that have the money to buy that car, if they wanted it, would. So that's not the real reason that it's one of the slower selling vehicles.
You want me to tap in, Dad, even if it is a little echoey?
Yes, and then we have in the number 7 slot the Nissan Versa sedan.
Did you hear me, Dad?
What was that?
I said, do you want me to tap in even though it's a little
Oh,
echoey?
you're allowed to tap in by all means, young man.
All right, I got you. So then the Nissan Versa, Dad, 201 days supply. There are almost 15,000 for sale, but only 3,300 have sold. Look at the price point, the difference between the Versa and the Mercedes-Benz SL. It's a big price difference. The Versa selling at $21,000, the Mercedes-Benz at $163,000. Then the Ford Mustang, Dad, coming in next. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, and trust me, those that could afford to spend the $163,000 for that Mercedes wouldn't even consider spending the 21 on that Versa. I don't know, probably for their worst enemy.
Ford Mustang coming in next on the list, 201 days supply, 18,000 for sale, 4,000 have sold in the last 45 days. Even the Ford Mustang, Dad, costs nearly $50,000. No wonder it's not flying off the shelves. The Volvo XC90, we're in the top 5 now. The number 5 slowest selling vehicle in the United States today, 210 days supply, 15,642 for sale, and dealers nationwide have only sold 3,349. The Volvo XC90 costs almost $72,000.
Maybe
WTF?
Maybe that explains one of the reasons why it's one of the slower selling vehicles out there. But I would imagine, compared to its competition for 3-row SUVs, an MDX and the Toyota Grand Highlander and things like that, it is probably not that significantly more expensive. It's just not as desirous as some of the other vehicles out there.
Look how expensive it gets there, Dad. The 26 right here, $86,000 almost for the MSRP. Some 25s right here, almost $79,000. They're pretty expensive for the XC90. No wonder they're struggling to sell it. Huh.
For $85,000, you buy 4 Versas and you put them together.
There you go.
and you end up with this really long, undesirable vehicle.
Let's keep going here, Dad. We've got back-to-back Audis, 2 sedans. The A6 coming in at number 4 with a 224 days supply. Dealers nationwide have over 1,500 for sale, but they've sold a measly 300 over the past 45 days. And then look at the A4. It's been on this list for a long while now.
Yes.
258 days supply, almost 2,400, a little over 2,400 for sale, yet only 420 have sold. Let's come back over to the car search quickly here, and let's look at Audi. And then let's pull up, we'll do the A4. Let's see here, 71 days on the market, 181 days on the market, 104 days on the market, 133 days, 177 days. This thing's just not selling fast.
It is not. And, it's really, how's a nice way? It's an older style. It hasn't really been updated that significantly over the years. So I think, that's leading to the problem with it. I'm almost certain it's been discontinued. So that's another thing that's holding it back. I mean, Audi knew that it wasn't popular, and so they were discontinuing it. And it's tough to sell those remaining ones when nobody wanted them in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. Then, Dad, the final 2 spots here, we've got a Maserati and a Jaguar. Both are SUVs, interestingly. The Grecale, Dad, from Maserati, over a 300 days supply of inventory, 675 for sale, 101 have sold in the last 45 days, $82,000 price point. And the Jaguar F-Pace, 332 days supply, your reigning champion in terms of slowest selling vehicle in the United States right now. 2,299, so almost 2,300 for sale, yet dealers have only sold 312 in the last 45 days, $71,000 selling price there. So look at this list, man. Your top 5 slowest sellers, interestingly, are all luxury vehicles, which that had been the part of the car market that had been faring pretty well, had been those more expensive upscale vehicles. Customers were still buying them, but this list would suggest otherwise. These are the vehicles you can get the biggest discounts on, the most negotiability, because they are so too much inventory and not enough demand.
This suggests that there are certain segments of the luxury market that are slow producers, slow sellers. And when you look at the vehicles that are on there, you begin to understand why. You look at the price points, you realize that they're older designs, older technologies. In the case of the Jaguar, they're not even building the damn things. And Maserati has always struggled in this country. So it's not too surprising. I am sure we would find other luxury vehicles of similar price points and even more expensive price points that sell particularly well in comparison to those.
Now, there are a couple questions in the chat. Is this for new and used? This is just new vehicles right now that we're looking at. We're going to look at the fastest sellers here in just a moment. Before we do, from the Redemption Project, I bought a used
Reclamation Project.
Excuse me, thank you. The Reclamation Project, thank you. I bought a used Toyota Highlander this weekend. Thanks to CarEdge Pro and its tools, I got $2,000 off the internet pricing and $1,000 more for my clunker of a trade. Thank you guys for what you do. That's got to make you feel good this morning, Pops. That's awesome.
Yeah, that is, and it does. It does make us feel good for what we do, and it's a gentle reminder as to why we get up every day and do what it is that we do. Even though lots of people like to refer to me as well. You ripped off your customers for 43 years, and now you're trying to give back. No, I didn't always rip off no, I didn't rip off. I didn't have to rip off customers. It's just good to see that we can help people out there navigate the car buying process so that it isn't as one-sided as it has always been.
And Deb, let's give a friendly reminder to our community that we have a promotion going on. We just announced $150 off our car buying service and 15% off CarEdge Pro. So as we're in the year end here, we're going to continue to give discounts on our car buying services and CarEdge Pro, which is the toolkit we use to get the best deal possible. So learn more, folks, back at CarEdge.com. And if you click on car buying service there, you'll also quickly be able to see how it works, as well as the fact that you can get a free consultation with our team and meet some of the team and see some of the recent deals. There's so much good data here back on the CarEdge website. You can meet the folks who support our thousands of customers every single month. Check it out back at CarEdge.com. Dad, are you ready to do? We did the slowest sellers. You ready to do the fastest sellers?
I'm ready to speak as quickly as I possibly can. Yes.
No need to. And we're going to hide this list. We're going to go from bottom to top. Okay, so you can see it all the way up there at the teeny. Whoops. Oh, I scrolled
okay. Up. Well,
there we go.
Yeah.
All right, a little better. We'll do those too. So we've got here, Pops, the number 10 fastest selling car in the United States right now, the Toyota Corolla, 39 days supply. There are 29,000 for sale nationwide, yet dealers have sold 33,000 of them. Next, we have a Lexus, the RX Hybrid, 36 days supply. Dealers have 4,600 of them. They've sold 5,500 of them. The reason I'm hiding this list is because there's going to be a theme here. The Toyota Sequoia comes in next, 36 days supply, 4,400 for sale, nearly 5,500 have sold. Next, the Lexus GX, 35 days supply, 2,800 for sale, 3,600 have sold. Next, the Toyota Camry, 34 days supply, 44,641 for sale, almost 59,000 have sold. Next is the Toyota Corolla Cross, 34 days supply, 14,000 for sale, 19,477 have sold. Lexus NX Hybrid, 31 days supply, 2,000 for sale, 3,200 have sold. Do you see the theme here? Lexus ES Hybrid, 26 days supply, 1,400 for sale, 2,500 have sold. Toyota Highlander, 25 days supply. And then, Dad, the Toyota Sienna with a 19-day supply. The first time in CarEdge history, we have the entire fastest and slowest selling, the fastest selling list made up of Toyota vehicles.
Yes.
It's insanity.
Yes. And when I look at that list, I say to myself, if I ever wanted to buy a franchise dealership, the only two at this point that I think I would be willing to look at based off of this information would be Toyota and Lexus. Those dealerships with those limited day supplies of vehicles are like having your own money printing press in the back office. it is, many dealerships struggle to be profitable. Many new car departments are unprofitable. Nissan, for example, their dealers struggle with a net profit margin somewhere between 1 and 1.5%. At Toyota, Lexus, that number, if I were to guess, that number is probably 5 to 6%. We're talking about if you have one of those dealerships, you have a 5 times or 6 times greater chance of securing much more profitability than if you had a Nissan dealership. So if I was in the market to buy a dealership, it would be a Toyota Lexus store. I would pay whatever I needed to pay because based on past success for Lexus, you're going to make all that money back and then some.
Can we take the alternative angle, Dad? What's the consumer take on this? Most of our audience, as you know, is not in the market to buy a car dealership.
Well, maybe they should be.
What's the implication, Pops, if you were running a Toyota dealership right now versus if you were running an Audi dealership, a Volvo dealership, et cetera? Give us that perspective, please.
Well, the perspective is, obviously, if you have a Toyota dealership and you can't keep the vehicles, the automobiles, in inventory for any extended period of time, then the likelihood of having to discount them deeply is greatly reduced. Everything in life is based on supply and demand. And for Lexus and Toyota, for the last several years, they have done a tremendous job of matching their supply with the demand, never allowing the supply to increase significantly enough so that it's much, much greater than the demand. Now, on the Audi side of things, if you get a customer that's breathing and fogging a mirror and showing interest in that A4 or that A6, you will do whatever you need to do in order to move that unit. You will discount it as much as you could possibly have to discount it to get the customer to say yes. And conversely, at the Toyota or Lexus dealership, it is really one of those situations where the salespeople don't have to be real good at selling. They're really good at saying, but if you don't, the person right behind you will. And so that fear of missing out at Toyota and Lexus dealerships is what allows them to sell vehicles at a higher profit margin than, say, at that corresponding Audi dealership.
This also shows up, Dad, I'm going to pull it up on the screen, in the incentives that the manufacturers are offering. To your point, and we're going to talk about it in a little bit here, Nissan is in a lot of hot water, and we know Nissan doesn't necessarily, aside from the Versa, have many vehicles in the slowest sellers list. However, they have an oversupply of inventory relative to demand. If we come here, Dad, to the car search, let's do this quickly. Let's look at a Toyota.
Yes.
Let's not look at a Supra. Corolla hatchback? Sure, we'll look at a Corolla hatchback. And I'm going to scroll down here. I think we've got it. Let's see. To incentives. So we've got a $500 for only if you have military appreciation. Let's look at the interest rate, 4.99% for 36 months. That's the special interest rate.
Yeah.
Right now, if you're in the market for a Toyota Corolla hatchback, one of the vehicles that we know is selling incredibly quickly in this particular market, well, because it's a new 2026 that has such a high day supply, but we know that this vehicle is flying off the shelves.
Yes.
Let's go back now and let's look at a Nissan. And now, yeah, why don't we do the Rogue? Let's look at the Rogue.
Yeah, that's their best-selling vehicle.
Let's scroll down to incentives. There you go, 0% financing for 36 months. This not only shows up in how negotiable the vehicles are at the dealership, it's how much incentives the manufacturer is having to put on them to sell the unit.
Yes, and your Nissan dealerships will say that Nissan corporate is not spending nearly enough money on incentives to move the needle. But then again, when a company has some cash flow issues, such as Nissan, how much can you expect them to throw towards incentives and everything else when we know, what was it, the second quarter of last year, that 99% of their profit went towards incentives to sell the units that they sold? Well, that's not a recipe for longevity. And at a certain point, you would think that the good folks at Nissan, if there are any, I suppose, would need to figure out something that will allow for longevity. So yeah, I would much rather be a Toyota or a Lexus dealer.
No, I know, but I want to keep hammering home the other perspective, Dad. The people that tune into this show watch us not because they want to get into the business. They watch us because they're looking to get the best deal. And I think it is important to understand, if you are a Toyota lifer, this market right now, can you get deals on Toyota? Sure. We see it day in and day out
Yes.
with our car buying service, but it is a lot more work than a comparable Nissan deal. And let's talk about Nissan for a moment here, Dad. That's the other big story in automotive news and in the automotive press today. Nissan faces dealer blowback over unattainable stair-step targets. Can you explain, Dad, what stair-step targets are? And we'll get into how much money that makes for the dealership, and why it's so challenging right now if you are a Nissan dealer.
Stair-step programs are basically sales goals that are set by the manufacturer. And the way a stair step normally works is, if you hit 90% of your goal, in many cases, you will attain a bonus for every vehicle that you sold. That would be at the lowest level available. So let's just say for fun, that is, I think it's a $350 bonus per vehicle sold at 90%.
It can get up to $1,200 per vehicle as well.
Yeah, if you hit 110% of your objective. Okay, so that's a huge swing. And then if you hit 100% of your objective, the numbers between the 350 and the 1,200. The problem with stair-step programs, from a dealer's perspective, is that the manufacturer who sets your sales objective does not always set a reasonable objective, does not always look at what you've done in the past and then say, okay, this is what we, based on reasonable growth, what we would expect you to do in the future. Some of the dealers are complaining that their sales objectives are upwards of 40% higher than what their sales were for the same month last year. Well, I don't know too many businesses that are struggling that expect suddenly to be able to increase their sales penetration by 40%, to be able to show a 40% growth year over year, month over month. So the numbers that arbitrarily get set by the manufacturer make it extremely difficult in many cases for the dealers to hit anywhere near the objectives that they need to hit. And then it encourages the dealers, and this is the good part for the customer, it encouraged the dealers from deal one to start discounting way below the bottom line, because the hope is going to be that, well, we've got to do whatever we need to do to hit those objectives so we can earn that money back. So it encourages dealers to take really, really short deals, low profit deals, which is beneficial to the customer. And it penalizes the dealers that take those deals who somehow still don't manage to hit their objective. It is a really slippery slope. And, you know, the smart dealers, there's two types of dealers. Some dealers are going to look at it and go, these numbers are unattainable and unreasonable, and I don't even care to hit them. Just, we're going to sell cars like we know how to sell cars, and we're going to make whatever profit we can make moving forward. Or other dealers are going to look at it and they're just going to go, okay, well, we're going to discount to the bottom, and we're going to hit those objectives.
And I think that's the important thing here for those of you that watch this show. Look at some of what we're learning here. One of the dealers to Automotive News said his fourth quarter sales target is 40% higher than his volume in the same period last year. Think about that for a moment. And if he hits his goals, he makes an incremental $1,200 per vehicle. You have more leverage today as a Nissan customer than ever before. Think about the paradox here of being a Toyota customer, the juxtaposition of being a Toyota customer and a Nissan customer right now. Nissan's feeling the pain. This program incentivizes their dealers to essentially cheapen the brand, which whatever, take advantage of that right now. Take advantage of it. I think that's the important message that I want to hammer home here.
Yeah, from a customer's perspective, it's really good. If you're looking to buy a new car, as an existing customer who might have one of their vehicles to trade in, well, it's not as good, because this puts downward pressure not only on the new car pricing, but also on used car pricing and used car values. So it significantly cheapens the brand and the brand's value. Now, as the manufacturer, for that dealer who said, well, my goodness gracious, their target's 40% higher than my volume was for the same period last year, Nissan's looking at them going, saying, you were nowhere near what you needed to be in sales penetration last year, and that's the reason why why the number's 40% higher. You were performing so far below what are expected levels of sales that's why you need to increase your business by 40%. But I digress, because as the dealer, I don't want to hear that. I want to figure out how I can make some money and remain in business.
I think it's so fascinating, Deb, because if we go back to our slowest selling vehicles list, you've got to imagine, I'll pull it up on the screen just so we can look at it. Nissan only has one vehicle on the slowest sellers list. You've got to imagine, at least for these other vehicles here, like there's immense pressure on the dealer. If you're an Audi dealer, there's immense pressure right now to sell the A4. If you're a Volvo dealer, immense pressure to sell the XC90, Ford with the Mustang, Jeep with the Compass, Mini with the hardtop two-door. I mean, these dealers must be feeling the pain of the market having shifted. And we're not even going to talk about it ad nauseum today, but we got the October numbers for many automakers, and they're not good. Like, the general market sentiment is poor from an automaker and dealer perspective. And so slowest selling vehicles represent opportunity. Manufacturers who are putting volume-based bonus plans on their dealers' heads and saying, go chase them, opportunity for customers. Toyota dealers, Lexus dealers, they have the most leverage of anyone right now, but still, it's the season of car shopping. We're still seeing better deals there than before.
Yes, absolutely. And I guess the reality of the situation is that you'll always be able to, if you work at it and really do your research, you'll always be able to find something that you can get a deal on. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a Nissan, a Volvo, or an Audi. You might be able to find that Toyota you're looking for, one that's been sitting around on that dealer's lot for a little longer than they would like, and they might be a little more motivated to work with you. So you just have to always do your research. You have to understand what the local market conditions are. And in some cases, you have to be willing to say to yourself, well, I might have to go outside of my local market area in order to be able to find the deal that I want, because maybe the Toyotas aren't moving as quickly in Minot, North Dakota, as they are in Chicago, Illinois. So that, it might pay, if you live in the Chicago area, to shop in Minot. It could be a little bit of a pain in the butt, but if it saves you thousands of dollars, it can be worth it. So sometimes you just have to realize that the world is a much smaller place than we'd like to believe. And so if you have to travel a little further, you travel a little further.
We've done that for countless customers already this buying season with the buying service. And I would say this is why, back on the website, if you have CarEdge Pro, the market days supply is local. So it's dependent on where you are. I've had my zip code for like the past week or so, somewhere in Kentucky is what I've been doing here. So, 68 days supply of this particular make, model, and trim of vehicle here in Kentucky. It could look entirely different in Florida, for example, or Arizona. Let's actually do it. We'll do a quick example. So it's 68 days here. This is on a Rogue SV.
Well, and here's the other thing that's really important with what you just said.
Yeah.
We also know that, say, in Florida, dock fees are absolutely outrageously expensive. And in some states, dock fees are capped. So if the dock fee in a state where you might be looking that's out of your market is maybe $300, but the dock fee in Florida is $1,200, well, you know what? there's a $900 savings there just on the dock fee that might be enough to encourage you to go out of your local market area.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, folks, if we can help you out with anything, check it out, CarEdge.com. We have some limited time savings back on the website, $150 off our car buying service, 15% off CarEdge Pro. Take advantage of that back on CarEdge.com. And yeah, we'll be back tomorrow doing more CarEdge Live here on the channel. Sorry again for being a moment late in the echo. We'll try and make it better for tomorrow. But enjoy the afternoon, Pops. I appreciate you doing this as always.
You do the same, young man. And if you're in a state where there's elections tomorrow, well, don't forget to get out and vote.
Absolutely. All right, folks, we'll see you here tomorrow. Much love, Dad.
Love you too, handsome.